Hi. Let's just get right into it. I wanted to knit a vest because I've been seeing a lot of girls, you know, knitting and crocheting a lot. It's become really trendy, and I've known how to knit and crochet for a really long time. I really found myself wanting to crochet a lot more often than knitting, just because crocheting I feel like goes by a lot faster. It's a lot easier to fix mistakes when you're crocheting than when you're knitting. In my opinion, it's a lot easier to fix mistakes. But with that being said, I really wanted to knit something just because I liked the look of it. I think a little bit better than crocheting. I mean, you can still make really nice things crocheting, but I wanted the knit look. And I didn't really want to knit anything super chunky because I liked that look of that tighter stitch. Not that the chunky ones aren't cute. I just personally wanted something a little bit with a tighter stitch, and I wanted to put in the time, put in the effort to have something that was a little bit of a tighter stitch because I liked that look. So I wanted to put in the effort to do that. So that is what I did, and I wanted to do it before winter was over, just because I'm probably not going to be wearing it a lot once spring and summer kind of are in full force. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how I made it and all of that, and show you little time lapses of me making it, but that's rude. But I just wanted to show you the yarn and the needles that I was using for this project. I just got some cheap acrylic yarn from Walmart. It's not wool or cotton, anything. It's just the cheap acrylic kind, just because this is my first time knitting something like super detailed. It's not just like a scarf, so I wanted to just kind of go a little bit cheaper on the yarn just in case I mess it up. But I went with the Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo yarn, and I greatly overestimated how much yarn I was going to need for this project. So I bought a huge ass 744 yards of this pretty cute brown color. It kind of looks poopy green or poopy brown on camera, but it's this really nice kind of soft brown color. It's called Cafe Latte, and this is how much yarn I still have left of it. And so I'm probably going to do something with that. And then I also used size 5mm knitting needles, and I got the circular kind. I didn't have any circular knitting needles, so I just bought these, and the reviews on Walmart said that these were pretty crappy, but I made an entire sweater vest out of it, and it's just fine for me. Here is that.
Okay, so for the beginning of the sweater, I just cast on 60 stitches onto my needles, and basically for the first few rows I was just alternating purling and knitting every 2 stitches. So I would knit 2, purl 2, ribbing pattern until I reached the length that I wanted for the ribbing. And while I was knitting, I was watching a lot of Hannah Montana on Disney Plus, and it's really been bringing me back to my childhood when this was my show as a kid, as was, I think, every single little girl's show. But I've been really enjoying rewatching Hannah Montana just because I really like seeing all of the characters. And of course, you know, the writing is going to be cheesy at times, the acting is going to be corny at times, but I honestly think the show really holds up, and I've been really enjoying rewatching Jackson. I think he is one of the funniest characters on the entire show, and as a little kid I didn't really appreciate his character because he was the mean, stupid, smelly older brother character that I didn't like as a little kid, but now as an adult I really like his character. I think he's really funny, so I've been watching a lot of that while I was knitting. After I finished the ribbing, the process became really simple, and I was just basically doing I think it was called the stockinette stitch, where you basically knit and purl alternating every row to get this kind of really nice V-shaped stitch. So I would knit one row, Scooby-Doo. I would knit one row, and then I would purl the next row, and then I would just keep doing that up until I got the length of underneath my armpit. So once I got to the part where it was underneath my armpit, it was now time to start decreasing. And at the beginning, it was very, very confusing and difficult for me because I had never really decreased on knitting before, and I had to learn the difference between knit two together and slip, slip, knit. And I was getting my left and right mixed up, which was very confusing, but I did eventually get it figured out, and I basically would just decrease only on the knit rows. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do or not, but that's just what I did because I didn't want to have to deal with learning how to decrease on a purl row because it didn't make sense in my brain. So on the knit rows, I would decrease, and then I would purl the row after that, and then I would decrease again back on the knit row. So I would only decrease on the knit rows and not on the purl rows. Let me know if that's what I was supposed to do or not, or if that's what other people do, or if I'm just an idiot. So I don't think I'm gonna time lapse this part. I'm just gonna let the music roll, and you can see me struggling on how to learn how to decrease. And then after I decreased up until the point where it shaped around my armpit, I just basically continued doing the stockinette stitch, knitting one row, purling one row, until I got up to my neckline, and then I had to shape the neckline and do the shoulders. And again, the shaping of the neckline and shaping the shoulders for the top of the front piece was very confusing to me. I didn't realize how many stitches I would need to put on hold and put onto another needle to put on one of the shoulders, and then I would have to decrease, but only in certain spots to kind of make that U shape for the neck hole. And it was really confusing to me. This is not going to be a tutorial type video because I don't really understand it myself most of the time. I just had to rewatch YouTube tutorials on it over and over and over again until I finally just went in and did it, and I think it turned out pretty alright. So after I finished the front piece, I basically did the exact same thing again for the back piece, and I didn't film it because it was pretty much the same. I did the same ribbing and did the same armpit pattern and all of that. Just the difference is that I didn't do anything to shape the neckline or the shoulders. I just kind of cast off at the top and didn't do anything to shape it. And that was basically the only difference between the front and the back. And then here's me casting off the back. And then after I did that, I'm going to start sewing it together. And I made the mistake, I don't know if I got it on camera or not, but I made the mistake of almost sewing up my armhole. I just wanted to sew up the entire side and didn't really think about the fact that I would need a place to put my arms. So I had to undo some of that, and but overall, I think the sewing part was one of the easiest parts. I just had to sew it in and out, just like regular sewing with the yarn needle. And then once the front piece and the back piece were sewn together, I had to pick up stitches to start doing the ribbing around the armholes and the neckline, and Picking up stitches, again, was really, really hard for me. I don't know if it was because the stitches were too tight or I'm just stupid, but it was really hard for me. But I actually didn't film this part, but let me just tell you what I did. A cool hack, if you're having trouble picking up your stitches with your knitting needle, you can get a crochet hook and just pick up the stitches with that and do maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 at a time. And then once you have a few stitches on your crochet hook, you can just switch them over onto your knitting needle. But make sure that your stitches go on the correct way, and don't get them twisted, because I made that mistake and I had to switch some of my stitches around. But that was a really cool hack that I figured out. So basically you just go into the stitch with your crochet hook and you just pull it through, and then you just switch it over to your knitting needle, and it's really easy. It's a lot easier than picking up stitches with your knitting needle, because if your stitches are tight like mine, it's a really hard time trying to get your needle through the stitch with the yarn on it, and instead of it just slipping off the needle, and it was really hard. So that is a really cool hack that I learned, so I would recommend that. And then basically I just did the same ribbing stitch that I did for the bottom part of the sweater vest around the collar and around the sleeves. I think I only did about 5 rows for each armhole, and I think I only did about 3 rows for the neck hole. But after I did the ribbing, I just cast off and I sewed in the ends and cut them off, and this is how the sweater ended up looking.
It's a little small. Yeah, it ended up being way smaller than I thought it would be. This is, I did not intend for it to be cropped in the slightest, but here we are, almost up to my bra, cropped so high because I didn't take into consideration my boob size when I was measuring the vest. So I measured my waist instead of measuring my boobs. So yeah, it's a little tight, and I did pop this seam right here, trying to get it over my head. So it is falling apart as we speak. So that's very upsetting to me because I worked so hard on it. I styled it with hoop earrings. But yeah, there's a hole right here from, I dropped a stitch right there, but I'm not too worried about it because I'm not going to be wearing it because it's too damn small. And if it was just cropped, it would be one thing, but it's also really tight around my armpits, and it's really hard to get on and off around my head. So okay, so that is how the sweater vest turned out. It was really disappointing having it not fit, but I'm still super proud of myself and how it turned out. I'm glad that I took the effort and took the time to make it look how I wanted it, even though I didn't measure it very well. I mean, next time I'll just have to take into consideration my boob size. If you guys wanted to see me knit like a vest that actually fits me, and maybe in a different color, you guys can comment down below what you'd like to see me do. I'm thinking about making like a little, one of those little bandana headscarf things in that same round color for spring. I'm thinking about making it either just a regular kind of doily square or like a granny square type thing with flowers in the middle of it. But I could do that, and I would probably crochet that one just because I don't know how I would knit a flower granny square. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more knitting stuff from me or crocheting stuff from me, let me know. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that jazz that YouTubers tell you to do at the end of their videos. And I will be seeing you soon. Bye-bye.